I mean, it's hard to describe culture. Culture is kind of how everyone behaves, but I guess we have a few things that I'd say really do define our culture. Number one, we care a lot. Everyone at Partly cares deeply.
Yeah. What does that even mean, though?
They care deeply about the problem they're trying to solve. Everyone is very, I think, pretty proud of what we're trying to do, right? Everyone's very much on a mission. We're all super bought in. Maybe to answer the question, what does caring a lot actually mean? It means you're not optimizing for looking good. You're not optimizing for kind of the key metrics. You're kind of optimizing for success as a whole.
Yeah.
You know, you're going home and falling asleep thinking about the problem, and then coming in and going, why don't we do this? I had this great idea.
Yeah.
What about this? You know, you'll debate someone. Someone says, I think we should do it like this, but you care enough to say, no, I disagree.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a great idea because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
If I look at Partly as a team, it is a super high performing team. We do have a really high bar, but I do think that's a really good thing because everyone on the team knows they're going to be working with the best people hopefully best people in the world at some level. And if they're not, then that person won't stick around at Partly for very long, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you have got those people, we give them everything they need, right?
Yeah, you got to protect them, right?
That's right. It's freedom and responsibility. Give them as much as we can. Make sure that people are paid super well. That everyone at Partly has options.
I think the engineering culture is an extension of the company culture as a whole, but obviously with some particular focus points that make sense for the very technical nature of the work. So some of the things that are pretty unique. We're very low process. There's sort of this belief that's come early on from the founders that if you have, I guess, a really good team of really smart people, put them in a room together and say, you need to solve these problems, you don't need a lot of processes around that. You don't need a lot of structure. And in fact, those kind of people don't actually want those things. They don't want to come to work and be told this is how you do things, follow the process. You're an assembly line of programmers. So it's a very trusting environment in that sense, in that we give people a lot of ambiguity and say, we need some solution to this, work out how to do it. And that means it's, I guess, a very rewarding place to work as an engineer, in that you get to solve hard problems and nobody's there to guide you. Most of the problems have not been solved before, so you can't Google the answer either.
The things which will stand out as different, one would be there's a higher level of ownership expected, and also typically more ambiguity in the problems that engineers are given. So rather than a checklist of tasks and requirements that you'd need to meet, it's more about understanding what is the issue the customer is facing, potentially talking with people in customer success, the customers themselves. We've got a solutions team who's really helpful too, super knowledgeable people, and understanding the crux of the problem so that when you can come in from an engineering mindset, you solve it in a way that doesn't just meet that checklist, but allows you to grow and expand on, ideally, a solid foundation.
I would say people who will do well at Partly are people who can act independently, very much self-driven. They're given a problem and they need to solve it end to end. They're comparing with other companies, there is limited support here. People answer the questions how things work around, but not to the details. No one will do deep code review trying to pick up your bugs, so you will be totally responsible for making sure that it's bug-free on the area you develop. Engineers need to be quite stress resistant because there is a huge pressure.
And we've tried to codify this a lot using our values as a company and our value pillars, but I think some of the really important things, particularly in engineering, is people who are sort of deeply naturally curious and they want to learn. They want to do hard things. They get a lot of, I guess, satisfaction out of solving hard problems, doing things where they go in not knowing how am I even going to start to approach this. People who are, I guess, mission driven, so they really buy into what we're trying to do as a company. They can see the vision, and that makes them excited to do something really big, really unique, that has the potential to actually change the way this really large industry functions and potentially other industries in the future. And then low ego, which is an interesting one, but we, I guess, want people who are really there to learn as well as to teach, and willing to, I guess, look at the data first, not just rely purely on intuition, and give feedback and take feedback and improve from that.
So if we step away from just evidence that they do like ownership, they do seek out a customer perspective, and are able to work with ambiguity, it's probably also people with just a really high engineering technical bar and with an eagerness to learn, because a lot of the problems there's no blueprint solution that you can use, and you're really having to go back, reason from first principles, learn a bunch of new areas, and then apply that to the problem your customer is actually facing. For a buyer to find the right part for their vehicle, they will often know the vehicle they have, and they'll know where the part is and on the vehicle, and ideally what type of part it is. So they'll say, hey, it might be like a brake rotor or something. Mechanic's looking for a brake rotor. We then need to know with all of our parts what are actually brake rotors. It seems trivial, but our data sources don't actually tell us that in any standardized way at all. So one of our engineers recently was essentially briefed with this problem. Like, we need a way for all our data to work out what the type of part it is, so that we can correctly classify it, so then the buyer can actually say, oh, well, if I need this part, I know that that's kind of the level of abstractness of something we're trying to solve. So from an engineer perspective, you then got to look at, well, I would break that down. This is something that we actually need to solve internally. We can't just push that back to the customer. And we also can't just go through our database and essentially try and guess based off these part numbers. So they came up with a way where there's a tool that our internal data quality team, like a team of specialist mechanics, can come in and use and get all the context that we have about a part, like any products people are selling related to it, any images, any additional information that they can use to really quickly and accurately work out that, yeah, it is definitely a brake rotor. And so then leading on from that to scale it, we can actually, rather than have them go through 55 million parts doing this, we start learning some patterns very quickly, and that's where the data science team comes in and helps. But there was no checklist there other than someone wants to find a part.